So, for the next session, fostering ethical guidance in finance, cultivating trustworthiness, and upholding moral values. For this, I would request Mrs. Samir Madan, Director Finance, Agilent Technologies. Mr. Samir is a seasoned finance leader with a solid 29 years of experience across GCCs and consulting. He has seen the evolution of GCCs from very close quarters since 1998 and has been part of setting up and managing greenfield centers both in India and overseas. Having worked with GECIS, Genpact, and Agilent, he has transitioned, transformed, and managed high-end process both for captives and third parties. He is a change agent, thought leader, risk taker, and mitigator as well, a solution provider for his business partners. He is a big advocate of leveraging technology for real time on demand, business reporting or insights, and feels in today's disruptive business environment, benchmarking helps drive strategies and gain market share. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Samir Madan?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Still the lunch effect is on. Good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to talk about an interesting topic, which is how do we foster ethical guidance in the finance community and cultivate trustworthiness and upholding moral values. Fair enough? So we finance people are unique in the sense that we have a bird's eye view of whatever is happening in the entire company, not just limited to finance. So whether it's sales, whether it's production, whether it's marketing, whether it's HR. So we have a bird's eye view of what is going well and more importantly, what is not going well. And I think it's imperative that we take the mantle to kind of make sure that not only ethics are followed, but are ensured forever. There are enough examples both in India and worldwide where the finance community has let down the entire company and has paid a heavy price for it. So basically, what is ethics? That's a very, very widely used word or a term, but everybody has a different meaning. So the simplest meaning which I could pick up is ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. And this is basically from Potter Stewart, who was the Chief Justice of the US Supreme Court. And some of the examples I'll quote are from the US of companies which went bankrupt and their CFOs went behind bars and what have you. And the reason why I picked up examples from the US is the legal system in our own country is so slow. The Satyam case is still underway in the lower court. By the time it reaches the Supreme Court, the guys would be on the better side of the world. So some of the examples which I will share now are from the US, so pardon me for that. I normally start all my presentations with a cartoon and I end it with a cartoon as well. So here goes. So the boss says, I'm afraid our business is getting stale. Our numbers have lost their crunch. So the basic root cause of all issues is that the numbers which are actually genuine are not in line with what you had expected, and that's where the fun and the pun begins. And it doesn't end well for most of the cases. But according to me, the numbers indicate the degree of ethical standards which are being followed by any company. And again, as CFOs, as finance professionals, there is no better set of folks than us to know what is going well, what is not going well, and when to show the mirror to non-finance employees, assuming that the finance employees are correct. Well, in some cases, the finance guys are the culprit as well. So what are the common types of business code of ethics? The first one is compliance-based code of ethics. This is basically a set of rules or practices which your company has set up, could be specific to the broad industry. Not much in your control. These are set up and we have to make sure that we follow it to the T. But the center part, which is value-based course of ethics, is something which is extremely important. So you have to understand what your brand is all about. What do your stakeholders expect? whether it's your investor, whether it's the CEO, sales guy. So making sure that the value-based code of ethics is one very, very clearly articulated, explained to everybody, and make sure that it's on a day-to-day basis followed to the T. The third one is even more important. So I represent life sciences, chemical analysis, and a diagnostic industry which is governed by US FDA, the US Food and Drug Administration Department. And their criteria is a lot more stricter than what, say, the SEC or the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ outlines. So all three put together, we have to make sure that we follow it. And not only we follow it, every employee follows it. And there is a mechanism to capture when the ball is let down and corrective action taken. There's a guy called Richard Srushy. Have you heard of him? There's a company called Health South. It's a very big American healthcare company which went bankrupt. He was the founder and the CEO. And unlike India, whenever the hearing happens, it's telecast live. And this is what he said in his hearing about a conversation he had with one of his CFOs. He says, if you fix the financial statements immediately, you will get caught or killed. But if you fix it over a period of time, you will go quarter to quarter, you can fix it and get away with it. Exactly the same thing which Ramalingam Raju said when he was doing whatever he was along with his CFO in Satyam. So remember, you cannot ride a tiger, you should ride only a horse. Because if you ride a tiger for a few quarters, one day the tiger will shove you off and eat you. And then he said, engineer your way out of what you engineered and engineer the way into engineer itself. I do not know what to say, you need to know what you need to do. We just need to get those numbers where we want them to be. You are my guy, you've got the technology and the know-how. So basically an example that the CEO nudges the CFO, and the CFOs at times do not budge, but many a times they do because of how their compensation is structured. It's a pity. But remember, you build your reputation over decades and you lose it within 3 or 4 quarters. And for those of you who don't know about Health South, read up the net. You will get enough data about what Health South is all about, how the fraud was perpetrated. And this is slightly old, before the dot-com companies came in. Normally, all the fraud started happening when the dot-com bubble bust. But this was even prior to that, in the early 90s. So a lot of information is available, but this is basically a very, very nice let up into how the CFOs should never, kind of allow the CEO to get away, to do what they want. The CEOs will nudge you to do it, to make sure that you hold your ground and not allow them what they want. Do you know who Arthur Levitt was? Anybody knows? So he was the chairman of the Securities Exchange Commission, the equivalent of SEBI. And this is his quote: too many corporate managers, auditors, don't forget auditors, they are partners in crime. So a lot of corporate managers, auditors and analysts are participants in the same game of nod and winks. In the zeal to satisfy consensus earning estimates and project a smooth earnings path, wishful thinking may be winning the day over faithful representation. So creative accounting.
In fact, that is the reason why ICAI is coming up with their new rules and regulations for your audit, in which the auditor will be held responsible for the mistakes if it is not been found out.
Yeah, ICAI is doing whatever it could, but now we have a BAP of ICAI, NAFRA.
Yes.
You know NAFRA, right? ICAI, according to me, will be history very soon. You've seen the cat and dog fight between ICAI and NAFRA? For those of you who haven't, just check the net. And managing may be, giving way to manipulation, integrity may be losing out to illusion. Again, the same story. You think you can get away with it, but one day law will catch you. So better that you save your reputation. And Arthur Levitt, as I said, was the chairman of the Security Exchange Commission. Now, I don't know what's going on in SEBI, whether those allegations are true or not. Only time will tell. But the regulator has to be above everybody else. So I've taken two more quotes. These are dark confessions of one CFO, which is the mother of all accounting frauds and lack of ethics. Which is that company? Pardon? It's an American company. Again, I am giving pardon? Enron. Arthur Andersen is the auditor, so this is their CFO's confession. So Andrew Fastow says that I thought I was being a hero for Enron. Can you beat it? And these are all testimonies available in the New York High Court. At that time, I thought I was helping myself and helping Enron to make its numbers. You live in a fool's paradise and you justify what you're doing. It's unbelievable. And the same guy has another quote. I believe, after he realized that he's going to be behind bars forever, then he says, I believe I was very greedy and that I lost my moral compass. See, today's world where management and the investors are two different entities, you should not be getting into all this fancy creative accounting and a lot of engineering, which are now coming up a lot more. Okay, so the next slide, which is going to be, slightly more interesting. So these are basically a list of drivers and enablers which lead into lack of ethics and legal debacles. So pressure of results, we've talked about it, lack of core values and definitive lines. The lines get blurred, personal relationships come into play, failure to see the issues 360 degrees, you're looking at only short term, not end to end. High comfort level, there is complacency, there is rationalization, there is failure to see limitations, and lack of historical perspective. What are the enablers? The failure to make ethics everybody's responsibility. So you don't have checks and balances in play where finance people are questioning the sales folks as to how their quota was set up. Now for 8 consecutive quarters, if the sales quota is met, is that an issue? According to me, yes. Either the quota was too low or there is something hanky-panky going on. Maybe not. So if for 8 consecutive quarters your quota is met, check all the POs with the sales guys issue, check their Concur claims, their travel claims. Anybody from Concur sitting here? No. So organizational behavior, retaliation, incentive, reward, signals, and fear, lack of enforcement and mixed messages all lead to ethical debacles. So the next slide is how can we CFOs promote an ethical culture? So we'll spend some time over here. So we now live in an era of business disruption. Competition is cutthroat. In India, competition is cutthroat. Anybody who says competition is not cutthroat in India? You all come from companies having operations in India? So when competition is cutthroat and your business model is disrupted, you don't know whether your business model itself will survive for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. You will start doing hanky-panky things. And as custodians of ethics and moral compass, we finance professionals should watch out for that. Should watch out for that. Did you follow what happened to a real estate company whose CFO was asked to kind of step down, criminal charges put against him. He joined another company as a director, and SEBI said you can't even be a director over there. Did you follow that? So law will catch you now. With NAFRA coming in, law will catch you. So my first suggestion is use the digital footprint and cutting edge customized insights to identify bad apples. So use your ERP and the beautiful bolt-on applications available which will flag out any potential mismatches, any potential areas which need investigation. The system will tell you this is what is not going well, what is something which needs to be investigated. Is the revenue growth higher than your competition? Is your cost of manufacture too high, too low? What has changed? Look at the price volume variance. Is the product life cycle coming towards its end? So the data insights from your ERP, whether you do it on your own or you use various bolt-ons, there are many bolt-ons which have come. Integrity is one of them. There is an app called Integrity. You put in your Oracle and SAP numbers into it, it basically tells you how the trending is going on. The next one is understanding the internal business flows, the interlinkages between various departments, how your competition is doing, and lastly, how the worldwide economic landscape is changing. It's an interconnected world. You are sourcing your raw materials from various parts of the world. You're trying to kind of sell to various parts of the world, and that's where fudging starts. Are you taking your hedges appropriately? Is the functional currency more important or the reporting currency more important? Not taking hedges could lead you towards bankruptcy. Not disclosing it appropriately could be a very, very big problem for you. Lead by example, just one second. Lead by example and establish a robust code of conduct, including a helpline as well as an email node. Half the things that you will get to know about what's not going well in the company is by somebody else.
When you automate your system, it will automatically cut down your this kind of malpractices. But there are some special approval which is being made by the CFO or maybe directors, allowing some wrong entries to happen. So in that case, it will become very easy for you to find out that कहाँ पे वो hanky manky कहाँ पे हुआ. But what I mean to say that once you go for your automation, it will definitely reduce the bad practices, but it is not going to get zero.
It's never going to be foolproof. Human greed will always be there. There will be a digital footprint. If your promoter or the CEO or the Lalaji is telling you to do something which you should not do, write to the board of directors. If then also things don't change, leave the company, find a new job. So make sure that you have a helpline and you follow up with that helpline. Demonstrate the ethics, that's part of your mission statement and brand. Learn storytelling, be nimble and approachable. The problem with finance folks is they talk only to finance folks. I normally am not found having lunch with my finance colleagues. I want to sit with sales guy, production guy, marketing guy, HR guy. They tell you all the gossip as well as what are things which are not going well. Always have a lot of interaction with your security people. Combine positive reinforcement with corrective action. So both a carrot and a stick. And again, the last slide I have is again a cartoon. So the economic modeling of our economic model suggests that we need to remodel. And this is the root cause of all problems, that the worldwide economic landscape has changed, we are not ready for it, and that's where we start fudging our numbers. All right, thank you. Hope you found it insightful.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sameer. And to do the felicitation, I would request Mr. Anil Suneja from Medtronic to do the honors.